Welcome back. You're watching the Prime Edition live from Broadcasting House. And of course, it's such a sad day. 16 lives lost of young, beautiful girls at school. This is not the first time. In 2024, it was Endarasha Boys School. Before then, many others have happened, from Bombolulu High School to Changuli fire tragedy that claimed about 76 learners. The statistics are growing. Frustrations are also growing, and the questions are coming in fast and thick. And the question is, who will put out the fires? And nobody seems to have an answer to that question. Tonight, this is going to be our conversation tonight. And the people joining me on the set, we have Hesbon Odhiambo. He's the National Emergency Operations Center Coordinator for Kenya Red Cross. He is on my extreme left. Thank you very much indeed, Hesbon Odhiambo, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And the man in the middle is Cornelius Oduor. He's a Deputy Executive Director at the Kenya Human Rights Commission. Thank you very much indeed, Cornelius, for your time.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start with Hesbon. I mean, when the news started streaming in about the loss of, or the fire at Utumishi, what was your first reaction?
Thank you very much, Brian, for having me on set. It is definitely saddening to hear the loss and any fire that happens across the country. And it does not only give that atmosphere of sadness for losing lives, apart from even just the community members around that area, the uncertainties. It's really painful, and for this we want to say a big pole to the families that have been affected by this. And we know that it's not very easy. So for us, as the Kenya Red Cross, it is normally very difficult because we spring into action immediately to do what our mandate is, of which is saving lives. Mm-hmm. And of course, we try as much as possible to give it utmost urgency, because we know the effects. Just like you've mentioned, we've had quite a number of incidents in the past, in the last 2 decades, where we've had some extreme incidents within the learning institutions. Mm-hmm. So this was one of the incidences that we really give it the utmost urgency, and to rush and support as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So we sprang into action. Mm-hmm. Yes.
At what point or at what time did you come to learn about the fire?
The calls came in at the Emergency Operations Center just after about midnight. Around 1 o'clock. Mm-hmm. That's when we started getting the calls. Mm-hmm. Of course, from the Emergency Operations Center, which is the toll-free line for the Kenya Red Cross, mm-hmm. that is 1199. Mm-hmm. We got calls. And
sorry, say that again for people to note down.
So the toll-free number for Red Cross is 1199. Mm-hmm. 1199, and this is the number that we've disseminated out there in case of emergencies. Mm-hmm. And after this, we were really, we got information from our teams on ground who responded to the incident. We also made calls to different fire stations and different stakeholders, mm-hmm. response agencies that we had from the National Disaster Operations Center, National Disaster Management Unit, and just bring into action, just doing the normal algorithms of response. Mm-hmm.
So the first call came at about midnight, that's what you're saying? Or past midnight?
Past midnight.
At what point did the first search and rescue teams arrive at the scene?
Well, I can't say exactly what the timings, but I know that at the time I was getting to office was probably most of the teams were working overnight for us. We have a 24-hour operation center. Mm-hmm. But the response agencies that were close by, the fire brigade, I can't tell you exactly what time they arrived there, mm-hmm. because we didn't keep account on that. But for us, the call started just running from 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, just moving and getting calls from all over. This went all day until the time when the number was disseminated throughout the day, calls coming in for different reasons, asking mm-hmm. questions. Of course, our number is in the public domain, so when whoever has any questions, they'll definitely call the Emergency Operations Center for that. Mm-hmm. Yes. So
and of course, I mean, we all know in any accident or incident, I mean, the golden hour is 120 minutes from the time of the incident or the accident. That's when search and rescue officers are supposed to be on site so that they can ensure that they rescue as many people as possible. Were they, from the information that you have, did we have these teams on the ground within 120 minutes, or they arrived past that time?
Well, I can't say exactly that it is 120 minutes because there are many factors that play into the 120 minutes. One is the time of call when it is made from the scene of incident, the time of activation of emergency help that is from the ground. So if there was something in the school, then there was a fire alarm or something, someone must have raised an alarm. The time that they're going to call that there's an issue, that's when now you start counting. The other time that you'd look at is probably if the teams are dispatched from a certain point, there's distances from where the nearest fire station is or nearest help is. The other thing is also, even as we come in, I'll just give an example if you allow me. Some time back we had some fire along Gong Road and teams responded, but you'll find that the roads were blocked on one side. So they had to go around and that took more time. So there are many factors that play into the 120 minutes, the golden hour that we talk about. And it also boils down to, do you have emergency activation systems within an institution? So in case there's an emergency, like right now here in studio, then what is the next, how long would it take for the fire engine to move from fire station down here to here? There's the roads, there's the roundabouts and the rest. So there's a lot that plays around that, but probably we would not want to look at right now because sometimes you don't know how the status is on ground and movement. But I know one thing, that the emergency response agencies did their best to reach there at the time that
the earliest time possible.
At the earliest time possible.
Cornelius, you know, as a person who works with a human rights agency, what was your first reaction when you heard another school fire tragedy, barely 2 years after the Endarasha school in Nyeri?
Indeed, Saturday, waking up to this tragic news about another fire in our boarding schools, less than 2 years, because Endarasha happened in September 2024. They will actually be celebrating their second anniversary come September. We thought probably there are critical lessons that have been picked from previous fire incidences, and we are not looking forward to this kind of news. So it's a sad day for Kenya that 16 of very, very young people whose futures now have been shattered because of probably something that could have been avoided. So as a human rights organization, first let me just share my heartfelt condolences as a parent first, and also as a human rights advocate for seeing those parents walking to school not knowing which kind of news will reach them, either if their loved ones are alive or they are dead or they are maimed. I looked at the screens and I really felt bad for these parents. So I think we must do everything possible within our means, first as government, to see to it that our schools are properly equipped and prepared to deal with such strategies. Because I think since Bombolulu, almost 30 years ago up to now, and the kind of reports that have emerged from assessment reports from these incidences, there are very, very critical recommendations that have been put forward by various task forces. It's disturbing that we don't seem to be picking critical lessons to avoid this kind of calamities. Yeah.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the fact that this is not the first school fire incident. I mean, we've had many from Bombolulu fire tragedy, Changuli, Endarasha. And after every fire incident, I mean, government officials, they issue statements. Investigating agencies, they say they are going to leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we move from one tragedy to the next. We thought the Endarasha fire tragedy was going to offer us some lessons on how to avoid future tragedies. Do you think there are any lessons that we have learned from Endarasha?
It appears not, because most of the reports, assessment reports, are pointed to negligence and non-compliance with the safety standards. Remember, most of these, the Ministry of Education in 2008 did develop manual for safety standards in schools, especially boarding schools. And most of the assessment reports point to negligence on the part of authorities who are concerned, because these schools are supposed to be equipped. These schools have their standard on how boarding facilities and dormitories are supposed to be set up to ensure that safety is guaranteed when such calamities do happen. But it's clear even from the 2024 assessment report that was commissioned by assessment compliance report that was commissioned by the Ministry of Education. Quite a number of schools were found to be wanting in terms of meeting the threshold for safety. And quite a number of them, we were told, were shut down. Now it tells you that in between, people have gone back to business as usual, and most of the schools have found a way of going on with their operations. Remember, since the 100% transition to secondary schools, these schools have, especially public schools, have very, very high number of students going to these schools. And the pressure for boarding facilities is increasing every other year. So there's a tendency of schools converting buildings that were not hitherto meant for boarding facilities. And some of them are converted without prior approval by concerned authorities. Some of these things are what has led to this kind of strategy, because when you hear news coming from Gilgil and what is being reported is that students were running away for safety only to meet a dead end. It means, therefore, either there were no drills undertaken in this kind of schools, so students don't know where to go when such a thing happened. Neither the administration probably was not around to provide the necessary support. Yeah, strategies do happen, but when we lose 16, this is very serious.
This is serious, bearing in mind that in Enda, Russia, about 21 lives were lost.
Yeah.
And this, you know, this is so gut-wrenching, bearing in mind that these are not just numbers. These are human beings. These are children whose parents have invested in them so much, and you know, their lives have been cut short. This was supposed to be the future doctors, the future AI strategists, the computer scientists, but now their parents have to bury them, and the nation will have to bid them farewell. Does it bother you that even despite all these fires that we have witnessed as a nation, nobody, no education official, no teacher, nobody has ever been convicted and jailed or punished for negligence or for allowing these things to happen?
Yes, at some point it bothers when someone is not convicted around this or held accountable for this. However, for us, what we emphasize mostly is the measures that have been put in place to be able to avert or reduce this. As a humanitarian agency, we emphasize mostly on prevention, which we know is very much possible in such scenarios. For me, I would look at it like my colleague has said, that measures have to be put in place in terms of the children or the learners or the people who might be affected, or even institutions, let me say so, that they have measures in place to be able to prevent such situations that have happened. And then the other thing is also to prepare for such kind of scenarios. In case they happen, then what do we do? Because you've heard that they were trying to run away and they were trying to do this. And the same story has been with other incidences that we've seen across the country. So in terms of issues to do with preparedness within the institutions is also something that is a concern, that we should be able to strengthen this as much as possible. Again, the other thing that I would really that would worry me so much is early detection, like you had alluded to earlier. The timings in which you can be able to respond to this depends on the early detection. How early can you be able to detect that something is not right in this, and then what can you do? What are the next steps? And this leads to the preparedness measures, whereby now you say, in case this happens, then this is what I'm supposed to do. and for us to be able to have measures in place. For example, if it's a door, does it open inward or outward? And what are the kind of procedures we're supposed to do in that relation? So for us, basically, for me, where I sit, I want to see measures being put in place, and this in learning institutions, and probably ensuring that whenever we have people in one space, then they already have knowledge of what to do in case of an emergency. That really helps, because that way we can be able to save ourselves. If you look at what happened, there are many students who are able to save themselves one way or another. And again, they knew maybe probably what to do, or they were not caught up in a certain situation, the door or maybe stampede and something like that. And this is the kind of knowledge that we're supposed to instill in our students as soon as they get into a facility. Not only students, we've seen fires, even residential fires. When you get into malls, when you get into spaces, then you need to strategically know how you're going to be able to move away from that situation. But this has to be done through continuous awareness sessions. This has to be done through simulation exercises, testing of the systems. This has to be done by continuous analysis of any single development that is done within an institution. Then it needs to go with, again, other skills that have been imparted on people within that institution. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, if you're just joining us, we are looking at various fire tragedies that have rocked this nation for the last 3 decades. And of course, this is coming against the incident that happened this morning in Nakuru County, Utumishi Academy, where 16 students have lost their lives. And we're in the company of officials from the Red Cross Society, as well as the Kenya Human Rights Commission. And we're trying to ask ourselves difficult questions as to what do we need to do to avert future fire tragedies? And if we cannot stop them, what do we need to do to minimize the victims or the damage? And I want to hear this from you, Cornelius. I have heard about proposals of setting up mini firefighting vehicles and locating them either adjacent to the schools or inside schools. Because look at it from this perspective. You have, for example, Utumishi Academy. You had about 815 students concentrated in one area, probably maybe 5 acres. Not forgetting about, not counting the teachers, the non-teaching staff, like drivers, security people, and all these. Is this something that we should try? Is it something that is workable? Having mini trucks, firefighting machines or systems in our schools?
That sounds a very good idea, but I still go back to the issue of compliance, because before a school is registered, I think there are minimum criteria that the facility needs to meet. One of them is safety.
Yeah.
Equally important, within the Ministry of Education, there are departments, such as the Quality Assurance Department, that's supposed to do spot check assessment of school facilities to ensure that they are prepared. What we've seen for the last 20 or 30 years indicates that nothing is being done to ensure that schools are properly prepared.
The script is like the same, it's almost the same.
When such an incident of this magnitude happens, everybody goes to those spaces and issue statements. But immediately after, people go back.
We forget and we move
and
on.
In between, you realize that then that there are no spot checks being done, there's no drills being done, simulation is not done, and you can find these equipments within the vicinity of the schools, but you'll be surprised that they're either not functional because nobody checks on them. Yeah, we just need to take our job serious as enforcement officers. I think one of the things that we've raised as a human rights organization is that the ministry needs to prioritize safety in schools, and the departments that are concerned need to be well equipped and resourced so that they are able to do their work efficiently. That is the only way we are going to avoid, because they say prevention is better than cure. We don't need to wait for these kind of things to make broad policy statements that are not followed by deliberate actions to see to it that this kind of thing does not happen again.
You know, in every county you have officials from government, from the Ministry of Education, of what we call national, quality assurance officers.
Yes.
In most cases, they are very few and underfunded. Nakuru County is not far off from Nairobi. You're looking at about 150 kilometers.
Thereabouts.
How then do we ensure that, first of all, do we really need to do an audit of all the quality assurance officials that we have? For example, in Nakuru County, do we really need to find out, had they written a report about that school? Were safety regulations adhered to in that school? Were students taken through safety manuals and their safety obligations in case of an emergency? And if this was to be done, then who is going to do it?
You see, even in this particular incident, if somebody was to inquire when there was a proper assessment in this particular school, you might find that it probably would have been very, very long time ago that this kind of thing was done. But even if not talking about Utumishi, quite a number of schools were found to be wanting.
Yes.
In just a rapid assessment, there were nearly 350 schools that were found not to be meeting the standards.
350 schools.
350 schools that essentially were supposed to be closed. But most of them have found a way of going back to the normal operation. So essentially what we are saying, the Department for Quality Assurance is not properly resourced to be able to do this work. And even the few that are there, I think they are just idling and not being able to do much. Because we can't be having these kind of incidences every other year. There are so many that go unreported. Beyond just fires, there are so many deaths that have been registered in schools because of either poor infrastructure. Some of them have found themselves in this old septic tanks, these kind of things. Some have drowned in swimming pools. So the whole atmosphere and scope of safety must be looked at. Even the issue of sanitation, access to water, and all these kind of things. So I think the department needs to be resourced, and we need to be more serious in terms of compliance and supervision to ensure that the people who have been bestowed with the responsibility to check on schools are actually doing their work, and they are issuing reports frequently that then informs policy and policy implementation. Otherwise, if we are going to issue these statements and then tomorrow we go back, I will not be surprised before the end of the year if there will be another incident of this magnitude.
Like, let's first of all revisit the Endarasha in Nyeri County. You know, the school was a boys' boarding school. 21 lives were lost, and all investigation pointed to negligence and lack of proper safety awareness, as well as installation of proper safety equipment in that school. The school was the boarding part of the school was closed. The day school was allowed to continue. Was that strong deterrence measures, and was that good enough to ensure that other schools, they pick up lessons from Endarasha, they implement safety protocols, and we move forward? And I want to hear that from you.
Thank you for that, and I think you've got it spot on, because sometimes after an incident, then you find that institutions will rush to start having measures in place, just trying to pick up time and things like that. And yes, one of the things we've seen across as the Red Cross is this gap. And one of the things that we try to do is to have school programs whereby we educate learners, staff on emergency evacuation procedures, basic first aid and life support. And that's one of the ways that we try to cover that gap. But again, it only goes for probably a certain amount of time. For the institutions that we work with every single time, we ensure that either on a weekly or a monthly basis we visit them and walk with them that journey. For some institutions it might be a bit difficult to walk that journey sometimes because of cost implications that come with certain aspects. For example, when we have procurement of equipment that are going to be placed in those schools. So yes, some of them have been able to jump in and start doing something, but some also are not able to keep up for the longest time. I will not say that they're not there. There are schools that have adequate measures in place, and others do not have probably reached there already. So we try our level best to support them, and the prevention measures for some are already adequate, but some are not. So it's a work in progress. Again, incidents like this, like my colleague was saying, that sometimes when you do an audit, because most schools have not even done the audits itself. So again, through the institutions that we have across the country, for instance, at the Kenya Red Cross, we have the Kenya Red Cross Training Institute, where we advise that you go and get trained on this, including staff and even sometimes we have the students being trained on this. Yeah.
Utumishi Girls School in Nakuru County. Two officers are here with me, and they're helping us to put and piece this critical information together. We have Hesbon, he's from the Kenya Red Cross Society. And of course, Cornelius, he's also from the Kenya Human Rights Commission. Gentlemen, we have about some few minutes before we wrap it up. I want to hear this from you, Hesbon. This school is about 60 kilometers outside Nakuru town. Nakuru town is a city. It is expected that it has a functioning fire and such, as well as rescue department. When you went to the ground, did you see like it was present, it was available at the hour of need?
Yes, the fire engine is there. And of course...
Did it head water?
Well, I didn't check, because when we get on ground, first of all, is we want to save life, first of all, because the first thing we look for is the students. In such kind of a situation, you know, there's a lot of chaos, and we have to ensure that we get all of these students to safety. The next thing is basically looking at the nearest ambulance that we have. So of course, we went with some ambulances and, of course, response teams. And whenever we're in that kind of a situation, the first thing is you want to stabilize the scene as fast as possible, so that you prevent further injury, because there's a lot of panic that is within. You are the beacon of hope for these students, and you try as much as possible to ensure that they are calm because of the hysteria that they have at that moment. So when you get to such kind of a situation, you try as much as possible to bring them. So we tried to manage those that we could be able to manage. We tried to offer first aid for those who we could be able to do, and evacuate as soon as possible to the nearest. All response agencies that came on board really tried their best to coordinate together. The National Disaster Operations Center, the National Disaster Management Unit were all on ground, and security personnel. Of course, there's other secondary situations that might arise, because at that point, even parents are coming on board and community members.
Very well.
Yeah.
As we wind up this interview, I want to hear from you, Cornelius. Where do we go from here, and what lessons should we pick and fly with them?
My take is that unless we hold the officers responsible and institutions responsible to account, nothing is going to change. What we are demanding as Kenya Human Rights Commission and the Limu Bora Working Group is that there is very comprehensive investigation into this matter. And if finds out that some institutions and irresponsible officers were culpable and were negligent, then they must be reprimanded. This is the only way that institutions and individuals responsible for running schools will get to know that they will be individually held accountable for these kind of losses. But the way we are moving, where reports are done and then they are just put in the shelves to gather dust, nobody bothers. It will be business as usual. I am imploring upon the Minister of Education and the enforcement officers to really now take this matter seriously, do a proper investigation, and have the institutions responsible held accountable. This is the reason why we went to court in the regard to the Indarasha Hillside Academy. It's only after we went to court that the boarding section of the school, because we are challenged the immediate closure of the school, but the owner of the school was able to negotiate that is able to close the boarding section, which we somehow granted. But we now feel that government now needs to take stiffer actions for any other incident that happens, starting with this Utumishi. Because parents, even in Darasha, are yet to get justice. There is a public inquiry that has been established. There are 2 court cases that are currently going on, and they are dragging. Before we could even get justice and to get to know what exactly happened in Darasha,
then we have to.
So we must do things differently.
Very good. In 1 second, well, not 1 second, in 15 seconds, what is your message to the parents who are grieving the loss of their children and the children or the students who are nursing their injuries?
First and foremost is to offer condolences to the parents who have lost their children, and for those parents who are facing this, we want to just say that we are here as the Red Cross. We are offering mental health support, psychosocial support on scene. We are also going to continue offering mental health support up to tomorrow for both the staff, students, and even the parents themselves. Okay. They can always reach out to us on 1199, as was earlier said on media. And our call, we are offering telecounseling services also for them, for those who cannot be able to reach there. Just call us and we'll be able to give you those counseling services on phone. Our numbers are again 1199, and the last is for all other learning institutions that are within the country. The message is to do 3 things that we had said earlier. Number 1 is prevention, strengthen prevention. Number 2 is strengthen preparedness through trainings, offering simulation exercises, and of course the last one is probably looking at equipping your institution ready for any eventualities, not only fire, but we have so many other things that might come, including floods. And
very good.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight and for offering this perspective. It is highly needed.
Thank you.
And very critical.
Thank you for having
us. The time is highly appreciated.
Thank you.
Very good. This is a number that you need to write down somewhere. It's a national hotline for Red Cross. It is 1199. Did I get it right? Yes. Yes, 11, that is 1199. It is toll free, which means that you don't pay even a single coin. And in case you need any counseling because of the events that you saw in that school, are you a parent, a teacher, a relative, or whoever, and you need psycho-counseling, please call this number. Red Cross officers are waiting, and they're going to offer you the necessary support that is needed for you to move on. To the parents, our heart goes out to you. And of course, to the injured, we wish you quick recovery. And to the Utumishi school, the sun will indeed set again.